Hi, my name is Carlin. Welcome to my channel. I really do like the following sayings, even though they probably are cliche. Do what you can with what you have where you are. Just wanted to get a shot of this. This is the best place ever to be on a sunny day. It does reinforce my idea about working under a roof though. Plenty of room to get little stuff done. That was cool. And the reinvented bus office desk. 100% improvement. Alright, briefly, I started off with the old piece as the template to get the corners cut and the size, but I used a full 48-inch wide piece. It didn't occur to me at the time when I made the first one that I could go underneath the door handle. So as long as I don't hit my mouse cable, I've got enough room just. No problem there. So that was a 48-inch piece that was pre-cut for like a shelf. I don't remember how deep it is. Might be a foot deep. It's pretty close. I reused the original piece that was here, but then I modified it. So this was one of the pieces that was from before. Grabbed an offcut here and one of the ever-present wedges, which doesn't, yeah, right there. There's a wedge, and I set them at 90 degrees to the other one, so it's got lots of rigidity. 2 or 3 screws coming through here. These are from the holding the top down. 2 or 3 coming this way, a couple going that way, down. Lots of triangulation. It's basically, I'm at the limit of how stiff this 2x4 is, because that's all the way across, and that's what's twisty, and you can get twist from that. And of course the top is a bus seat bottom. I looked around to the pile, found one that was pretty flat, and then I cut a sliver off the back edge to get it to sit straight because of the windshield. Goes in or forward, sticks out a little bit. But yeah, it's like, okay, this was, yeah, I just hit a point. I think what I'm gonna do, if I wait a week, I mean, like a day will probably do it. Let the glue dry and then take these screws back out, and this should stay. So I've got 2x4 here and another one. The back one is setting on edge and this one is sitting flat. That's 100 times better though. It is so solid. Same brackets there. I'm leaving this open for now, but I could do something here later. So I just didn't want to overdo it right now. But one thought is a drawing desk on this side, all right? Because, let's see, I think I can go forward now. Yeah, this could actually work. So I can sit with a littler easel here, which does block my window. Not that I have a view, but also I got the fan and the stereo sitting here, the little boombox. So the old orange cord, this is one of the oldest cords, and then a fairly long white cord. There's plenty to reach to there. I'm not going to need power for the laptop anytime soon. I mean, what I'm thinking is leave the keyboard and mouse over here, take the laptop back at night. All right. Just, you know, because then I can recharge the laptop, and also I can be like watching movies on the laptop in the evening. Okay, so I brought a USB-C to USB hub that's self-powered, so I can just unplug one place and then I can run a jump drive off of that too. Yeah, gaming mouse, that on the cutting board is freaking awesome, so I'm gonna remember that. I'm pretty used to using the trackballs now, but those did work good for editing, so we'll keep that in mind. Yeah, that's perfect size for a mouse pad. That works really good. Yeah. And I figured, okay, full 48. Eventually I'm going to redo the door and get rid of this door handle, right? So, if, you know, when that's gone, it'll be good. But for now, it's not a problem. I was going to cut a special piece for this piece. And like that one was a found piece, I'm pretty sure. That was years ago, or, you know, a long time ago. So that was the whole mission for today, was to get this place set up. So since I'm here, Now I can sit here and jam, and I think the next project is take the pedals out. I didn't want to, but they're right in the way. Oh, also, I don't have to move the seat now. I'm plenty good. So, yeah. Oh, and this was the leftover from the other keyboard tray. It was, I looked at it, I was going to go all the way across, then I'm like, oh, before I do that, measure it. And it was a little bit short, so I thought, well, let me just cut it in half evenly, and we're fine. You know, I needed enough, this is the best little mat ever. It still squirms a little bit, but I don't want to glue it down. I might cut a notch here, but I'm going to wait until I am sure I want it, you know, where I want it, kind of thing. But having this much room on the side, I'm going to leave it alone for now, but I might do something else with it. Now that this is pretty solid, I could see doing another table on the side, attach it to here, and then put a leg back here, but I'm going to wait. Last note, on the front of the windshield, yeah, it'll show up a little bit on the corner. Outside of the windshield, there's a drip edge there. I don't know if I ever really noticed that before, but I could totally see hanging my sun visor off of that, right? So if I had a sun visor coming down at I'm thinking maybe that corrugated roofing again, make a frame out of 2x4s and then bip it out there so it's 8 feet wide. Maybe take that outside mirror off and reuse the bracket, or at least the holes from it, and then duplicate something on this side, probably bus seat, leg parts or something like that. And just have a great big sun visor off the front. I think that would be awesome. Because by 10 o'clock in the morning, I would totally be getting shade, right? Yeah, heck yeah. Yeah, the more I can do over here, it'll take the load off of the house and vice versa, kind of get things systematized and organized and whatever. This was a good solid day. It was just kind of a slacker day. It's 3:42 now. And I mean, this is like, now this is done. I can come over here and eat breakfast and do writing if I want to. You know, and the more I think about it, it's like, man, am I glad I didn't waste, you know, $1,000 on windows on the house, you know, because I've got all this already. You know, I've already paid for it. So, right? Heck yeah. I don't know, it's so funny. It's like, I'm excited. Alright, this is first week of May. I just got finished looking at the video that you just saw, and I'm like, yeah, this by itself wouldn't make a lot of sense. Okay. Before I built the house, I had 3 or 4 different places in the bus that I had my desk. But I also had everything I owned was in the bus, and I didn't have the shop, and I didn't have any other storage, and so it was just, when I first got the bus out here and then brought my stuff when I moved, it was jam-packed. I mean, you could barely move inside. And eventually I kind of carved out some corners and stuff like that I could work in. But the bus seat, the driver's seat, I just kind of left that area alone. I didn't use that for quite a while. And then one day I was like, well, there is 3 feet of space up there that's not being used, right? So I realized that, like, that would be the perfect place for a desk if I could redo things a little bit. So since I used to be a mechanic, I'm like, well, how about if I just take the steering wheel out and then build a little desk up there, right? Because the bus seat itself is fairly comfortable, all right? So that's kind of what I did that one time. Took the steering wheel out, pulled the entire instrument console out, pulled all of the switches that are on the driver's side out, just completely gutted that corner right down to the bare, you know, to the outside wall. And then, as an experiment, started grabbing scraps of wood. The only cut piece I did, I think, on that one was I had one 2x4 that goes all the way across the dash from edge to edge. That shows up in this video. And then I just started grabbing random pieces of OSB that were about the right size, and I'd put them there, and I'd screw them together a little bit. And that was it. And I'm like, well, I'm going to use it for a week like that, and then come back and use those pieces for a template and make it better, right? Well, it never happened. It was never good, but it was just good enough that I didn't want to take it apart because it was working, right? So I didn't
videotape taking it apart this time, but I kind of left it, when I moved over to the house, I thought, well, I should just take this all apart. And I started to, and then I'm like, well, it's a good template for the next time. And when I was designing the house, in the back of my mind, I was always thinking, well, the bus is there. It's 8 feet wide and about 30 feet long inside. It's almost the same length as the house. The house is 12 feet wide. And I'm like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to duplicate everything again in the house if I've already got the bus over there. So I thought, well, I'm going to come back after I get the house built and maybe do a bus conversion, which is still something I'm thinking about. But when I got moved over to the house, I hardly ever went to the bus again, except to pick up random pieces that I hadn't moved over yet. And then at some point, I went back and set up the white shelves that are in the bus. You'll see those in some of the shots. So I'm like, well, I've got the bus. Let's use that for storage. And now what I'm starting to do, I've been in the house the first winter, is I'm looking at the bus again, and I'm like, well, I can move some things back to the bus to get them out of the way in here, and then kind of divide and conquer. And then there was one day where it was just kind of a nice day. I was looking for something different to do or something like that. So I grabbed my drink or my coffee or whatever I had and went over and just sat in the bus seat again. And I had kind of forgotten how much I enjoyed sitting in that front seat looking out the windshield, because you're looking out to the mountain. You got a major view out the front windows. And when I built the house here, because my windows are up higher and I'm sitting down lower, I can see out the window, but I can't see as much as I could when I was over there. Because you're in the driver's seat of a school bus, you've got really good visibility, right? So that kind of reminded me that was something I had planned to do, and I kind of put it off. So what I'm looking at now, I've got my big giant desk here in the house that's got, well, here, I'll show you. All right, so I've got the computer monitors, I've got the laptop. Here's the bus video that I'm actually editing right now. I got everything set up. I got 2 sets of keyboards and oatmeal and lemonade and, But the problem is I've got everything over here, right? What I would like to be able to do, and this is kind of the whole purpose of moving back some of the stuff over to the bus, I'll take the Chromebook, which has about an 8-hour battery life. I'll take that. That's what was in the video in the bus. So on the days where I'm going to do writing, I'll take the Chromebook, go over there, sit in the bus, and there will be a coffee cup and a whiteboard and one marker, and I'll just sit there and I won't have all of this other stuff here. Right? So I just go over there, write for 4 hours or whatever I want to do. And then when I'm done, I'll just unplug the Chromebook, bring it back over here where the chargers are, and it'll be ready for the next day. Right? So that's kind of the plan. Is when I redid that desk, and that was I don't think it took me 2 hours to rebuild that whole desk, because I had the template from the time before. I could mark what worked and what didn't. But it was funny because the original one that I had built was never very good. It was just good enough to test it to see if I liked the basic position, and then I was planning on going back. Well, the OSB had, I swear, this much of a bow in it. Literally, I mean, it was high enough on the sides, but the weight of just my hands and the keyboard over time, it dished it. I mean, well, it was probably a solid 2 inches. You can't see this because it's hard to get perspective with this wide-angle lens, but yeah, it was huge. Anyway, so when I added the 2x4 bracing to it that I show in the video, I'm like, oh man, that feels really solid compared to just a piece of OSB, because you'd be typing and the whole keyboard would be bouncing. Sometimes the key wouldn't even register the click because the whole shelf, the desk moved. So yeah, that's going to be a huge improvement. The other thing I'm looking at is the opposite of what I've got here. I have so many things here that kind of do have to be here, but they're distractions. It's nice to have a nice clean area that has nothing there, right? And that's what I'm going to look at the bus for doing. So when I get back to writing for the book, I'll do it over there. And then a future project still, I never got to do the bus conversion the way that when you buy a school bus to go camping in, everybody just guts it, redoes everything, makes this beautiful motorhome out of a bus. I never got to do that because from day one of having the bus, I took custody of the bus and I started shoving stuff in it, and then I drove the bus over here, and then I brought 2 or 3 truckloads of stuff over from where I used to live in Austin out to here. So from the day I lived in the bus, there was too much stuff in there, and I never had enough room to move stuff out of the way to do a conversion. I could never get 4 feet of bare wall that I could start doing something. You know, it was just a lot of hand waving, right? Anyway, so now that I have the house, I can, if I decide to, I can look at the bus again and say, okay, I'm going to pull everything back, have 10 feet of space, maybe insulate the walls, insulate the ceiling, you know, do a proper conversion if I decide to. Now, I've lived in the bus for 2 winters the way it is, so, and if I don't have to sleep over there because I've got the bed over here, I may not go as far on that, but I still kind of want to do something with the bus. You know, pull some wires, maybe do some wall covering of some sort, maybe insulate the roof. You know, in the summer, that roof is very hot because, you know, it's only metal and a little bit of fiberglass insulation, but I can't do a dropped ceiling for the insulation if I do more insulation because it's a 6'2" ceiling in the middle. I'm 5'11" and I wear my boots all the time, so I can just basically stand there and stretch with my feet still flat on the floor, and I can kind of, especially now with my hair getting longer, you know, I can hit the ceiling. So if I drop the ceiling an inch, it's going to be a problem. So we'll think about that. Anyway, I just wanted to tack this on the end because if you see the video, and if you didn't happen to see the other video of me taking it apart, this wouldn't make any sense. But if you're curious, there was several videos I shot. I don't have really good internet out here right now, but it was something to do with converting your school bus into a spaceship or something like that. So one of the thoughts always was to make the front of the bus look like a spaceship cockpit. And I never got to finishing it because of what I said before, is I just didn't have room to pull everything out and then really put the time into it. And it doesn't have to be all crazy, but I mean, with all these computer monitors I have here, if I would have set those in the windshield, which they were for a while, you know, and some blinking lights and a row of switches, you'd be halfway to the space shuttle. All right. So that was kind of the idea. I just never got there. But when I was first looking at, I was writing the spaceship book, Mars Clipper, years ago. And then I kind of got out of it for a while, and then I got back into it. And when I was in Austin, I actually built half of a cockpit in my living room that I could sit in while I was writing, just to kind of get in that frame of mode, you know, frame of mind. So that's kind of where that came from. I'm like, well, okay, the size of the school bus is actually about the size of what the spaceship was going to be. It just kind of worked out that way. I don't think that wasn't why I bought the bus, but when I kind of pulled back and thought about it, I'm like, it's almost the right size. Okay. So then I could kind of, when I was in the bus, I could kind of figure out what it would be like to be in the spaceship, because it was too full. It was always crowded, you know, on a day where you didn't want to go outside if it was storming or something like that, and you're stuck in your spaceship and you can't get out and you're getting kind of like claustrophobia. That's perfect. It was exactly right. And there was some scenes that I wrote where it was just like that, where you're like, yeah, you know, it would be just really great to get out and go for a walk, but you're halfway to Mars and you can't do that right now. You know, that kind of thing. It helped. It was kind of funny. If you get in the right frame of mind, it just writes itself. So that's what that was all about. Anyway, hopefully that makes a little more sense now. So as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for all your support. If you'd like to help support the channel going forward, I do have a Patreon channel. Patreon account. Every little bit helps right now. How did I say this last time? I have been out of work. Well, it was like I quit the job just at the perfect time, just before the coronavirus thing really took off. So I got out of retail and I moved some stuff around. It was kind of like, you're doing your card trick or something like that. You're moving everything around. I realized that if I changed how I looked at my finances, I really didn't have to work the way I was before. So I have not been working since January, and this is May. So that's pretty cool. I haven't talked about finances for a while, but I'm at the point now where the money coming in from basically YouTube and Patreon and a couple little things that I have on the side, my budget is really close right now. I've got food. I've got about a month's worth of groceries still. I canceled my water account in town. I've got about 800 gallons of water sitting out in the tank still. I should be able to make it easily to monsoon season, and then we have water for the rest of the year after that, right? That kind of thing. I sold the truck, so I don't have to pay truck insurance anymore. I've got basically my budget is the cell phone and food, and my web hosting, which is like $12, and that's it. So when somebody throws me $5 on Patreon, that's huge. I mean, that's a major chunk of my budget right now. I'm like, thank you very much. So if you want to kind of help keep this thing rolling, that's kind of what we can do. In the meantime, if you haven't, please subscribe. That does also help. And thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next one. Bye for now.